Hello and welcome to Devil's Advocate. Has Hansraj Bharadwaj behaved improperly as Governor of Karnataka, or are the press and opposition being unfair? That's the key issue I shall raise today with the Law Minister, Veerappa Moily. Dr. Moily, the BJP has demanded that Hansraj Bharadwaj be recalled as Governor of Karnataka, and newspapers like the Hindu and the Indian Express have strongly criticized his behavior. Can you accept that Mr. Bharadwaj has behaved improperly, perhaps even unconstitutionally?
You know, it's a constitutional post, governor's post. And you know, as a law minister, I cannot pass a value judgment. And in fact, whether the BJP has raised some objection, yes, because they are the interested party, where they are affected. I don't think we can take their suggestions as an objective and impartial.
But
yes, insofar as the
newspapers are criticizing him.
No, that's sometime both facets are brought before the person who judges. The drawing inference is not permissible. Drawing judgment particularly will have to be seriously thought of.
Do you therefore rule out recalling the governor?
No, that's not for me. This is a constitutional process involved. And just because some opposition leaders, they want the recall of the governor, it's not done unless it is objectively based on merit.
Do you think he should voluntarily step aside? He's become the figure of controversy. He's embarrassing the country. Should he step aside?
That question will not arise in my first answer.
Do you defend him?
No. After all, I'm a law minister. I cannot pass value judgment on certain facts.
But you can defend
certain constitutional process and certain discharge of duties by a constitutional authority.
Are you distancing yourself from the governor? Because it's so easy
for
you to
it's not a question
him.
of distancing myself. After all, I must sit here as an objective body, because after all, if any opinion is sought on any matters like this, I need to give an impartial and objective opinion on that. So in view of that, I'm out of bound to give any judgment on these matters.
It's very interesting. I have to have an impartial mind. I have to give an objective opinion. It sounds to people as if you're not willing to defend Mr. Bharadwaj. You're distancing yourself from him.
No, certain issues are raised. When the certain issues are raised, defending or protecting will not come. Even then, it may be attributed to me that I'm taking the side of Mr. Bharadwaj because he happens to be in my party or my predecessor. It is not done like that. That's why, I don't want, because it will not benefit even Mr. Bharadwaj, even if he is on right.
All right, this is very interesting. You're being scrupulously neutral, and many will interpret that to mean that you are deliberately, consciously avoiding defending Mr. Bharadwaj.
No. It's not a question of avoiding, and it's a question of assessing things on a correct perspective.
All right,
the stage has not come to me to assess these things, because it has not reached that kind of a position where a law minister can offer his remarks.
Let's then look at the case against Mr. Bharadwaj, and let's begin with the letter he wrote to the Speaker on the 10th of October. Now, I readily concede that a governor has the right to send a message to the Assembly, but in this instance, it's the content of that letter that disturbs people. First of all, he has advised the Speaker not to exercise his powers under the anti-defection law. He has no business to do that. It's overstepping his limits.
You should know that the Speaker invoked his power under the 10th schedule of the Constitution of India, namely the anti-defection, only on the day of the convening of the session.
Why is that important? How does it matter?
No, I'm sorry. So, that's why, if a governor feels it is his judgment, and his judgment, I am not here to question. I am not entitled to question his judgment. And interpretation of that kind of a judgment, if I make an attempt, I think I will be crossing the frontiers of my position as a law minister.
The problem is that, in fact, Mr. Bharadwaj has crossed the frontiers of his office. You see, it's not for him to advise the Speaker.
It's an opinion.
Well, it's not for him to express an opinion when the Speaker should exercise his powers under the anti-defection law, when he should issue notices, what notices he should issue, or to whom. Yet he chose to do precisely that. It is a transgression onto the constitutional authority of the Speaker and the House. He has no business to do it.
It is your perception.
Well, Dr. My perception, he's gone one critical step further. He's actually said to the Speaker that if the Speaker exercises those powers and it ends up influencing the vote of confidence, then the outcome of that vote won't be acceptable. Now, once again, he has no business to say that.
It's a question of clash of two constitutional authorities. One the governor, another the Speaker. Who is right on this is a question which the people should decide.
The people?
Yeah, people should decide. So the right-minded people should decide, not the interested parties like BJP.
This is very interesting. Once again, instead of defending the governor, you're saying you are leaving him to the people. The people will decide whether he's right or wrong. Once again, this is distancing yourself from the governor.
No, I'm not distancing, but if I make any attempt to interpret the right exercised by the Speaker, suspending or expelling the people on the date of the assembly, and if governor's position that, when he says, when sent a message that you must maintain the position as on the date he issued a letter to the Chief Minister.
Something he had no business or power to say or advise. Something he had no business to say or advise.
Whether it's a business or not, ultimately it is for the judiciary to decide.
All right.
Not for me or you or any people.
Let's come to the second case against Mr. Bharadwaj. The fact that within 24 hours he changed his position. He first recommended dismissal of the government and imposition of President's rule. Within 24 hours he changed his mind and decided to give the Chief Minister a second chance. Once again, he's made a mockery of the authority of the governor's office.
We should not forget the fact that on the first day of taking vote of confidence, you have seen the proceedings.
Bedlam, I agree with
Proceedings
you.
which has taken place only for 5 minutes. And the process of vote of confidence, taking the opinion, has not taken place at all. That means there is no question of taking vote of confidence.
Which is why the governor recommended dismissal of the government. Why did he then change his mind?
I'm just telling you, that is not a question. It is for ultimately the wisdom of the governor as a constitutional authority exercises right. 1 minute. To tell you crisply that when a constitutional authority has given one more opportunity which was not availed by the Chief Minister, do you think it is derogatory, or do you think that that kind of a exercise of his right to give one more opportunity is against the natural justice?
I'll tell you why I think it's a problem. First of all, it involved a change of mind and a contradiction in position. Secondly, it suggests that the governor doesn't know his own mind and thinking. And thirdly, as Mr. Sitaramaiah, your leader of the opposition and a member of your party himself pointed out, the decision to give a second chance and call a second vote of confidence is unconstitutional in Mr. Sitaramaiah's eyes. So the governor has behaved immaturely, he's behaved rashly, some say he's behaved unconstitutionally. He hasn't acted wisely.
I'm sorry, I can't join you on value judgment of his actions.
But these are your colleagues. I'm quoting your colleagues.
No. It's not a question. I'm sitting as a law minister with you, not Mr. Moily as a Congress leader, to support this kind or that. That is their opinion. Nothing wrong. They place their opinion, and ultimately it is not for me to come to a value judgment. It is for as a constitutional authority, it is for Mr. Bharadwaj as a governor to take his own. And after all, we should not forget he has been an eminent lawyer.
Which is even more surprising. He is a three-time former law minister who has yet behaved in this way. Let me pursue this point like this. After the governor changed his mind and decided to give Mr. Yedurappa a second chance, he failed to take into account that the Karnataka High Court was still determining the outcome of the disqualified MLAs. By rushing the second vote of confidence, he's perhaps guaranteed that a third may be necessary. How many votes are you going to have? And isn't that once again making a mockery of the voting process?
No, because since it touches the borderline of sub judice, I don't want to comment.
Oh, I'm not asking you to comment on the Karnataka High Court. I'm asking you to comment on the wisdom of the governor.
It's not an isolated act. The act of the governor, act of the speaker, is not isolated from the court proceedings which is going on in the High Court.
All that the governor had to do was to wait to find out what the Karnataka High Court would decide before he ordered a second vote of confidence. He didn't. Now, as a result, you may have a third. It's becoming a bit of a joke.
I can't say, whether the timing of the second vote of confidence is right, appropriate or not. is not for me to say. It is for the,
Once
he has
again.
you must understand.
Once again, Dr. Moily, you are distancing yourself from the governor. You are refusing to comment because you know that this is an embarrassing situation. Neutrality is so much easier.
That is not my understanding.
All right, let's.
I can speak to you on facts and merit, whatever is available on the ground, and what has gone on in the thought process of the Constitutional Authority of a governor. I don't think I am entitled to investigate into his mind.
Let's come then to the third element of the case against Mr. Bharadwaj. The press conference he held, the long, rambling political diatribe that he delivered on Tuesday. He was speaking more as a leader of the opposition, criticizing the chief minister, than a head of state. And everyone has said that this was unbecoming, if not undignified. How do you defend that?
No, I am not here to defend or offend him. Ultimately, let us see what.
Defend for sure you're not doing, and this is so obvious. You will not defend the governor.
Yes, there is one school of thought who will say that the constitutional authority should speak less. But sometimes, the constitutional authorities are provoked to speak because sometimes his actions have been commented by certain interested parties. So it is ultimately for him to do that.
Surely it is wise for a governor to maintain silence no matter what the provocation, to hold a public press conference.
That's a matter of perception.
Absolutely. A matter of perception. In this case, I put it to you that Mr. Bharadwaj acted with the wrong perception. He acted wrongly. Just look at the things he said. He accused his own government of land grabbing and illegal mining. He said he was fed up with corruption. He said he was frustrated with the chief minister because he kept calling him and the chief minister wouldn't come. Are those things that a governor should say publicly?
I don't know whether he should say what is around. But ultimately, the constitutional authority, like a governor, cannot be deaf, blind.
But should he be outspoken? Should he be outspoken?
He cannot isolate himself from what is happening in Karnataka.
Quite right.
But I must tell you that how the government 2008 came into force.
No, don't go into that.
No.
That's
how the Operation Lotus operated.
No, you're deflecting the
how
conversation.
The defections have been practiced as a matter of rule by the BJP government.
Dr. Moily.
And how the mining 15,000 to 30,000 crores worth illegal mining has taken.
Dr. Moily, let's not deflect the issue.
No, I'm not deflecting. But when you mention this,
we're talking about the governor. I can understand that you don't want to defend him, and very cleverly, you are hiding behind the need to be objective and impartial. I'm just underlining for the audience that you are not defending the governor.
I need not hide, suppress my opinion. Whatever it is, I would like to put the record straight. I would like to be transparent. I would like to be objective. I am not an advocate of governor or an advocate of BJP or advocate of anybody. And as a person who can take the things in a correct perspective, I can speak out whatever the question you ask for.
Then in that spirit, let me proceed with this question. So far I've spoken to you about areas where people believe the governor has behaved unconstitutionally. Unfortunately, that's not the only charge against him. The BJP says that he's also converted Raj Bhavan into an epicenter of conspiracy to destabilize the government. And many people, many newspapers once again agree.
But the perspective of the people is the epicenter of destabilizations lies in the BJP headquarters here and also the CM's residence itself. I must tell you, it is born by destabilization, and it is just like man who swears by sword, die by sword. That is what has happened to BJP.
We're not talking about the BJP. Let me come back to Governor. Let's not talk about the BJP. Let's come back to Governor Bharadwaj.
I will quote Arnold Toynbee when he said, out of 23 world civilization, 19 world civilization has failed because of the crisis in character. The developments in Karnataka.
I'm not going on to Arnold Toynbee. I'm not going on to Arnold Toynbee, and I'm not going to let you deflect me.
Crisis in character.
You're deflecting the conversation. Let's stick to Governor Bharadwaj. Let me put this to you. The gravity of the charges against him is so severe, and the feeling that he's acted wrongly is so widespread. Should you not dispense with him in the greater interest of Indian democracy?
I am not the constitutional authority to dispense with him.
Your cabinet is. You're a member of the cabinet.
No. You must understand, it is for the President of India to do that. She is the constitutional.
She's going to be
authority.
advised by
Deal
you.
with it.
You're her law
And
minister.
one thing I must correct the record. There is nothing unconstitutional done by government. You may say it is improper. You may say it is not correct, or you may say that is little excessive. But I don't think it will. Anyway, this action comes within the borderline of unconstitutional.
I'm going to repeat the words you've used. You may say it's improper, you may say it's a little excessive. Those are two qualities that a governor must never display. He must never be improper, he must never be excessive. The distinction you make between those qualities and something that's unconstitutional is very paper thin. If you yourself admit your governor is improper and has been excessive, those are grounds for dismissing him.
I never said that.
You just did.
In your statement or in the BJP statement, if it is found that it is not improper, not my argument. I said I refuse to give any value judgment on the statement or the actions taken by the government.
Dr. Modi, let's take a break. I want to come back and talk to you about the central lesson most people have drawn from the Bharadwaj episode, that politicians should not be appointed governors. That's in a moment's time. See you after the break. Welcome back to an exclusive interview with the Law Minister, Veerappa Moily. Let's come to what many people believe is the principal lesson to be drawn from the Bharadwaj episode. They say hereafter politicians who fail to win elections or have not been put into the cabinet must not be compensated by being made governor. Can you accept that?
No. How can I accept it? Where is the rule?
The Sarkaria Commission recommendation appointed by Indira Gandhi, your great leader, let me quote it. This is what the Sarkaria Commission recommended. Governor should be a person who has not taken too great a part in politics generally and particularly in the recent past. Governor Bharadwaj, just weeks before he became a governor, was law minister. He came straight from politics to governorship. That's the sort of thing that shouldn't be allowed hereafter.
You must understand, it is not only Congress or even the NDA. Immediately they step down from Chief Justice, they are made.
But it's wrong. No matter who does it, it's wrong.
I'm just telling you, immediately they step down from the, even the highest office of the, the controller of accounts, they are made governor. There are several instances. I don't want to comment on personal.
But the point I'm making is it's wrong. Can you accept it should happen again?
You should understand that part of the recommendation of Sarkaria Commission, according to my understanding, has not been agreed to by any government, whether the NDA or the UPA.
That's what I'm asking you. You are one of the wisest politicians in this country. You've been chairman of the Administrative Reforms Commission. You need and know that we require changes in the way we function. Is this not a change you're prepared to accept?
No, that's why I'm very happy to say that the Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, has accepted 90 to 98%.
But he hasn't accepted this. But he hasn't accepted this.
Kindly hear me. It is not during the time of Dr. Manmohan Singh, these reports are submitted. These reports have been submitted about 20 years back.
In the time of Rajiv Gandhi, someone you revere,
I think and it's been successively 15, 16 ignored. Years, then successive governments have come and gone.
Is it right to ignore it?
In any report, there are certain governance, the ethics which are provided in the report. There are certain things which has to result in law or the constitutional amendment. There are certain things it has to be built into the governance fabric of any given government.
Can I ask a simple question?
These are all the categories of the recommendation made by many commissions.
I'm running out of time. Let me ask you a simple question as Dr. Moily, as a man that many people respect and admire. Do you think we need to think carefully about the people appointed governors hereafter? Give me a quick answer.
There should be a national consensus on that. There is no point, one government accept it and another successive government doesn't. And there is a consensus on the ethics.
We need a consensus on the ethics of the people appointed. You agree?
I agree.
On that note, a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.